Donald Trump? You know the name, you know the hair, but do you really know the businessman? Before the Oval Office, Trump was a real estate mogul. He built an empire on hotels, golf courses, and his name in gold letters. But leading the free world is different from closing a deal. Or is it? Trump's presidency brought new conflicts of interest. Every deal, handshake, and trip raised eyebrows. Is he acting in America's best interest or his own? That's the question that's been following Trump since day one. Let's talk about Israel, a land holy to many, a political powder keg to others, and to Donald Trump, a potential business opportunity. That's right, folks. While Trump was busy being the leader of the free world, his company, the Trump Organization, was eyeing up Israel for some prime real estate. We're talking luxury hotels, folks, because nothing says peace in the Middle East like a five-star hotel with your name on it. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with doing business in Israel, but when you're the president of the United States, things get a little more complicated, especially when those business deals involve locations close to, shall we say, sensitive areas. Government buildings, military bases, you know, the kind of places where you don't want a foreign leader having any leverage. And that's where the alarm bells start ringing. Because it's not just about the business deal itself, it's about the perception, the potential for influence, the whispers of quid pro quo. Did Trump's foreign policy decisions have anything to do with his business interests? It's a question that deserves an answer. The Trump Organization's plans for Israel were ambitious, to say the least. We're talking multiple hotels, including one in Jerusalem, a city already bursting with religious and political significance. Imagine the headlines, "Trump Hotel opens just a stone's throw from the Western Wall." It writes itself. But it also raises some serious ethical concerns. See, Jerusalem isn't just any city. It's a city claimed by both Israelis and Palestinians, a city at the heart of one of the world's most intractable conflicts. And plopping a Trump Tower right in the middle of it, well, that's like pouring gasoline on a bonfire. It's a recipe for disaster, and it shows a blatant disregard for the sensitivities of the region. The fact that these plans were even on the table is a testament to Trump's brazen approach to business and politics. It's like he couldn't separate the two, couldn't see the ethical minefield he was waltzing through. And that's a dangerous thing for a president, especially one with such a volatile temperament. Let's shift gears from the Holy Land to the land of oil and, well, more oil, Saudi Arabia. Now, the Saudis are no strangers to controversy, but their relationship with the Trump administration, and specifically with the Trump Organization, is a whole other level of shady. We're talking millions of dollars flowing into Trump's businesses, from golf tournaments to real estate deals. Now, you might be thinking, so what? Businesses make deals all the time. And you'd be right, but here's the thing. Saudi Arabia isn't just any business partner. They're a foreign government with a questionable human rights record and a vested interest in influencing US foreign policy. So when Trump cozies up to the Saudis, showering them with praise and weapons deals, while his own company rakes in millions from them, it raises some serious red flags. Is he putting America's interests first, or is he putting his own financial interests and those of his family ahead of the country he swore to serve? Section 5, Kushner's millions, family ties and foreign ties. Speaking of family, let's talk about Jared Kushner. You know, Trump's son-in-law, the guy who looks like he's always about to pitch you a startup. Well, Kushner wasn't just sitting on the sidelines during the Trump administration. He was right in the thick of it, playing the role of presidential advisor and international businessman. We're talking millions of dollars in investments from Saudi Arabia and other countries. These were deals that directly benefited Kushner and his family. It speaks to a culture of corruption and entitlement that pervaded the Trump administration. Section 6, the transparency vacuum. What we don't know can hurt us. Trump's business dealings lack transparency. He hides his financial records behind shell companies and legal maneuvers. It's like a game of hide and seek with the American people. We have a right to know. Transparency is the bedrock of a healthy democracy. It ensures leaders act in the best interests of the people. Trump's secrecy erodes public trust in our institutions. Section 7, a chamber divided when business and politics collide. The Trump era exposed the deep divisions within the business community when it comes to the intersection of commerce and politics. On the one hand, you had the traditional pro-business groups like the US Chamber of Commerce, who generally supported Trump's policies, particularly his tax cuts and deregulation efforts. For them, it was all about the bottom line, and they were willing to overlook Trump's more unsavory qualities as long as he kept the economy humming along. But on the other hand, you had a growing number of business leaders who were increasingly uncomfortable with Trump's behavior and his policies. They saw his attacks on immigrants, his withdrawal from international agreements, and his cozying up to dictators as bad for business and bad for America. This rift within the business community reflects a broader debate about the role of corporations in society. Should businesses be solely focused on maximizing profits, or do they have a responsibility to speak out against injustice and promote social good? It's a question that will continue to be debated for years to come. Beyond tariffs, rethinking trade in a globalized world. Trump's approach to trade was, to put it mildly, unconventional. He launched trade wars with China and other countries, slapped tariffs on imports, and generally threw the global trading system into disarray. His supporters argued that he was a tough negotiator who was finally standing up for American workers and businesses. His critics, on the other hand, accused him of being reckless and protectionist, arguing that his policies would ultimately harm the very people he claimed to be helping. The truth, as is often the case, lies somewhere in between. Trump's trade policies did succeed in bringing some manufacturing jobs back to the US, and they did force China to make some concessions on intellectual property theft. But they also led to higher prices for consumers, retaliatory tariffs from other countries, and uncertainty in the global economy. The Trump era highlighted the need for a more nuanced and strategic approach to trade, one that recognizes the interconnectedness of the global economy and the importance of working with allies to address shared challenges. Simply slapping tariffs on everything that moves is not a sustainable long-term strategy. The price of influence. Can we put a price on integrity? The scandals surrounding Trump's business dealings raised a fundamental question. What is the price of influence? How much are foreign governments willing to pay to curry favor with the President of the United States? And how much are they willing to overlook in terms of human rights abuses and corruption in order to secure lucrative contracts and advance their own interests? These are not easy questions to answer, but they are questions that we must grapple with. The Trump era showed us that the line between business and politics has become dangerously blurred, and that foreign governments are all too willing to exploit this for their own gain. We need to strengthen our laws and institutions to guard against foreign interference and corruption. We need to demand greater transparency from our elected officials, and we need to hold them accountable when they abuse their power for personal gain. The future of our democracy may depend on it. Lessons learned. The future of business and politics. So what lessons, if any, have we learned from the Trump era when it comes to the intersection of business and politics? Have we done enough to prevent future abuses of power, or are we doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past? The jury is still out. On the one hand, there have been some positive developments. The House of Representatives passed a sweeping ethics reform bill in 2021, although it stalled in the Senate, and there is a growing awareness, both among the public and within the business community, of the need for greater transparency and accountability. But there is still much work to be done. The influence of money in politics remains a major problem, and foreign governments continue to find ways to exert their influence. We need to remain vigilant and demand better from our leaders. A call to action, guarding against the shadows of influence. The story of Donald Trump's business dealings is a cautionary tale, a reminder that power, when left unchecked, can corrupt even the most well-intentioned individuals. It's a story that should serve as a wake-up call, a call to action for all of us who believe in the promise of democracy and the importance of holding our leaders accountable. We cannot afford to be complacent. We must demand greater transparency from our elected officials, and we must hold them accountable when they abuse their power for personal gain. We must strengthen our laws and institutions to guard against foreign interference and corruption. The future of our democracy may depend on it. Let us not allow the shadows of influence to darken the halls of power. Let us work together to build a more just, equitable, and transparent society, one where the pursuit of profit never trumps the pursuit of the common good.